Your cat rolls over. Soft, relaxed, full belly on display. And you think, invitation. So you reach down. You get maybe 2 seconds of contact, and then the paw comes out. The teeth find your wrist, and the cat walks away like absolutely nothing happened. You have been here before. Every cat owner has. And most people arrive at the same conclusion. My cat is unpredictable. My cat is dramatic. My cat is, frankly, kind of a problem. But here is what actually happened in that moment. And once you understand it, you will realize you were the one who misread the signal. The instinctive explanation is borrowed from dogs. When a dog rolls over and exposes its belly, it is a submission signal. It means, I trust you. I want contact. Please pet me. So when a cat does the same thing, the logic seems obvious. Same posture, same meaning. And when the bite comes, the conclusion follows. The cat changed its mind. The cat is moody. The cat has some kind of personality disorder. Research on cat owner behavior consistently shows that the belly-up posture is one of the most misread signals in the human-cat relationship, with owners reporting both the assumption of invitation and subsequent bites from the same interaction. John Bradshaw, a researcher at the University of Bristol who has spent decades studying domestic cat behavior, documents this pattern in his work on feline communication. The posture reads as an invitation to humans because we map it onto dog behavior, but the two species are not running the same program. That is how strong the dog logic is. Even experience does not override it. The problem is that cats are not dogs. In feline body language, rolling over and exposing the belly is not a submission signal. It is not an invitation to touch. It is something entirely different, and the science behind it changes the meaning of that moment completely. To understand this, you need to understand what the belly actually represents for a cat. The abdomen is one of the most vulnerable regions of a cat's body. It contains the vital organs. It has less skeletal protection than the chest. There is no thick muscle layer. In the wild, exposing this region to another animal is one of the highest risk things a cat can do, which is exactly why cats rarely do it around animals they perceive as threats. Researchers studying feline social behavior describe this as a relaxed resting posture that indicates perceived safety, not submission, not invitation, but a specific resting state that cats adopt most often when they feel secure in their environment. Think of it as a trust scale. On one end, a cat curled tight, tail wrapped around its body, maximum protection, low trust. On the other end, full belly up, legs loose, eyes half closed, zero defensive posture, complete environmental safety. To reach that second state in your presence, your cat has made a specific assessment. This human is not a threat. I do not need to protect myself here. It is not saying, touch me. It is saying, I feel safe enough not to need to hide from you. But why does touching it trigger such an immediate response? This is where the neuroscience becomes important. The cat's abdomen is a highly sensitive region containing sensory nerve endings that respond to touch, pressure, and movement. This sensitivity is not uniformly distributed across the body. Your cat's face, chin, and cheeks, sensitive but tolerant of sustained contact. The base of the tail, highly reactive. The abdomen, among the most reactive regions of all. If you mapped touch sensitivity across a cat's body, the belly would appear as a high alert zone, not because the cat dislikes you, but because the nervous system there is wired for rapid threat detection. A predator grabbing a cat by the belly needs to be responded to in under a second. That response system does not switch off just because the predator is now your hand. When you reach in and make contact with that region, you are activating a threat detection pathway that has been fine-tuned over millions of years. The response comes before the cat even decides anything. It is not mood, it is not personality, it is neurology. There's also a phenomenon veterinarians call petting-induced aggression, and it follows a specific pattern. Sarah Heath, a veterinary behaviorist who has published extensively on feline behavior problems, describes this as one of the most common sources of conflict in the cat-human relationship. The aggression is not random, it is threshold-based. Think of it as a tolerance threshold curve. As petting continues, stimulation accumulates. Below the threshold, the cat is relaxed. At the threshold, the ears rotate, the tail begins to flick, the skin along the back may twitch. Over the threshold, the bite. The key detail is that this curve is invisible to humans. We see the relaxation, we miss the signals in between, and then we are surprised by the endpoint. Here's what the middle of that curve actually looks like. The tail is the earliest indicator. A slow, deliberate swish, not playful but rhythmic, means stimulation is building. Most people interpret this as the cat enjoying itself. It's the opposite. Then the skin, a ripple moving across the back, as if the body is trying to shake off a fly that isn't there. That is the nervous system beginning to override comfort. Then the ears. They rotate backward, not flattened, just turned, tracking the source of stimulation. At this point, the threshold is close. And the pupils. In a relaxed cat, pupils are narrow slits. As overstimulation builds, they dilate, even in bright light. These signals are not subtle once you know what to look for. The problem is that nobody tells you to look for them. Here is something that reframes the whole picture. Cats are both predator and prey. Unlike dogs, which occupy a clear predator role, the domestic cat's wild ancestors were hunted by eagles, coyotes, larger wild cats. For anything large enough to threaten them, the abdomen is one of the most vulnerable targets. This is why a cat that is genuinely frightened does not lie flat on its back. It curls, it tucks, it makes itself small. The belly-up posture requires an active decision to remain still, a decision that only happens when the threat assessment system has already concluded safe. Dogs were bred over 15,000 years to suppress defensive aggression toward humans. Cats, as we established last episode, domesticated themselves and were never strongly selected for tolerance of physical contact. The result is two animals that look superficially similar in this posture, but are operating on completely different programs. A dog's belly up says, "I yield," or "let's play." A cat's belly up says, "I am safe here." One is social submission, the other is private trust. And the difference matters because touching a signal of private trust without being invited to is not a misunderstanding. It is, in the language of that relationship, a violation. Now I want to give you something practical, because petting-induced aggression is one of the most common causes of cat bites in domestic settings. A 2002 study by Soennichsen and Chamove, published in Anthrozoös, directly tested which body regions cats respond to most positively and most negatively during human contact. Their findings were consistent across subjects. The regions cats react most negatively to being touched: abdomen, base of the tail, lower back. The regions they respond most positively to: the area around the cheeks, chin, and base of the ears, where facial scent glands release social pheromones. That is not a coincidence. Touching a scent gland region says, "I acknowledge you." Touching the abdomen says, "I am grabbing you." The signals your cat gives before it bites are always there. Tail flicking, skin rippling, ear rotation, pupil dilation. These are not random. They are the warning system running exactly as designed. If you have been bitten after a cat showed its belly, the cat did not betray you. It escalated through every available signal and reached the only option left. The practical implication is simple. When your cat rolls over, watch the tail before anything else. If it is still, you may have a window. If it begins to move, stop. Do not wait for the ears, do not wait for the skin twitch, certainly do not wait for the pupils. The tail is the early warning system, and it is almost always right. So the next time your cat rolls over, do not reach in. Just look at it. Let your eyes go soft, maybe slow blink once, because your cat has just taken one of the most vulnerable postures available to it in your presence. Not because it wants something from you, not because it is asking you to touch it, but because somewhere in its nervous system, wired over 10,000 years of cautious proximity to humans, it has registered, "This one is not a threat." The correct response is not touch. The correct response is to be seen seeing it. That is the whole relationship in one moment. If this changed how you see your cat, subscribe and tell me in the comments, have you been bitten? And did you see the signals before it happened?